Hello everyone, my name is Rowan and today I want to make a video on how I turn liquor bottles into period-esque water bottles. I wore a couple of these on my belt during Pensic last year and it really helped me stay hydrated the whole week. When I was going on the rapier field, when I was walking through the market, I had one of these with me all the time. So far I haven't had one break. You're making them out of recycling, so if they do break it's not really that big a deal. But let's get started. So the materials you're going to need are a hairdryer, bottle of your choice, some kind of leather thong. I chose a EcoSoft lace. This one actually isn't leather, but it looks a lot like it and it was a lot cheaper. Pair of shears or scissors, and some tacky glue. You can use other types of glues. I prefer this one because it sticks really well to leather. The first thing we're going to make is a braid. It's a very simple braid. There's nothing special about it. It's going to be the handle of your bottle. All of these bottles have the same type of handle, just a little simple braid. I used to make them out of twisted leather, but I found it untwisted on me or caused some problems, and this braid has been the best so far. I would not recommend using a single strand of leather as the handle because it's just going to be too weak and it always stretches. So with the weight of the water itself, you're going to want to have something pretty substantial to hold your water bottle to your belt or on a sling, or however you prefer to have your bottle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my leather thong. I'm going to cut 3 lengths that are about an arm length across, 3 feet-ish. The reason I do that is I like to process multiple bottles all at once, and I would prefer to make one long braid and cut it into little pieces rather than make a bunch of short braids and have to rebraid over and over again. The length of the handle itself is completely up to you. I usually like to make sure my hand can fit in it, but we'll get to that in just a second. So once you have your 3 pieces of leather cut, I like to tie them in a knot. And then secure this to a table leg, a chair leg, a lamp, really anything where you can get some tightness in your braid. Alright, so once you have your braid, you just tie off the end, make a little knot. You're going to be wasting a little bit of the beginning and end of the braid, and I'm not too worried about that. As a tip, while I was braiding, I was trying to keep the thong pretty flat so that the braid is flat. If this thong was rounded rather than like a little rectangle, then I wouldn't worry about that at all, but because it is a flat ribbon, it matters a little bit more to flatten it out while you're braiding. Right. So now what I do is I pull my braid, try to keep it nice and smooth, And I'm gonna take the glue and I'm just gonna dab down the braid every few inches or so. The reason for this is I'm trying to hold the braid together. It's probably not necessary, but I like strengthening the handle a little bit because it is taking the brunt of the weight and the strain on your bottle. All right. So while that dries, it should only take a couple minutes to dry, but we're gonna take the label off of our bottle. So right now I'm just using a little tequila bottle. There's a bunch of different ways you can take a label off. I've tried soaking, I've tried using acetone, I've tried scrubbing it. There isn't really a great way that I've found so far. Right now, my main method is using a hairdryer. And the purpose of this is that you're going to heat up the bottle to the point where the adhesive starts to melt. Once the adhesive melts and loosens a little bit, it's a lot easier to pull the label off. If you're doing this with kids, please supervise them so that they don't burn themselves. If you have a heat gun, it is more efficient than a hairdryer, but I don't have access to one, so I'm using a hairdryer even though it's lower temperature. I'm going to heat the whole area of the bottle slowly so it warms up slowly. It's going to be really important if you're using a heat gun to warm up the whole bottle slowly so you're not shocking the bottle with hot temperature in one spot because it is glass and it could still break on you. So I'm going to heat this area. I'm going to heat all over the label, pretty much just on one side of the bottle. Then when it seems like it's good, I'll peel up the label until it starts to be difficult to peel again. We're going to flip it over, heat up the other side, and peel off the label. Same thing can happen up here. You don't actually have to remove this part of the label because it will be wrapped, like in this example. I might actually leave it today. I usually remove it, so we'll just try leaving it on this time. So right now it's peeling off pretty easily. It is leaving some residue. What I have done in the past is take steel wool and acetone to remove that last bit of residue. As a tip, it would probably remove the cork in the future because it did build up pressure inside the bottle as the remnants of tequila were heating up. And again, I'm just peeling away the label until I can't peel it without the paper ripping. So about here, maybe? I mean, the farther you can go without having to reheat it, the better, but yeah, cool. So I was able to remove my whole label. I definitely have residue all over here. If I don't take that away, it'll collect dirt and will be irritating later. But for now, I'm going to wrap the top of the bottle. I'll come back later with steel wool and acetone to remove the residue. All right. So with our leather braid, I'm actually going to use the old one that I made before because mine is still not dry. So it might be better to make yours way ahead of time. I'm going to just estimate how big I want my loop to be. I wear my bottles on my belt using a little belt frog to clip it on. So I don't need it to be huge, but I always prefer to be able to fit my hand in the belt loop for when I'm carrying it around. An additional material that I forgot to add at the beginning of the video is actually masking tape. What I like to do is add a little bit of masking tape to the braid where I'm going to cut it, so I don't have to deal with it unraveling itself while I'm handling it. So if my handle is about this big or so, give it a little extra, then I'm going to add my piece of masking tape about here. Wrap it. I don't need it to be very thick. I don't want it to be very thick. So that is sufficient for me. The only purpose of it is to hold your braid together while you're working with it. Once it's on the bottle, the leather wrap should hold it onto your bottle nicely. Cut right in the middle. So I have this short piece of braided leather, a little bit of masking tape on each end. I'm going to take each end, meet them together, and add a little bit more masking tape to hold them together. Again, just so they're easier to handle while wrapping. So now I have a continuous loop of leather with a little bit of masking tape on it. I'm going to take my bottle, and you're going to want to determine which side of the bottle you want facing forward. Some of these bottles, let's say like this one, they have a flat side, they have a round side, they have some imprinting on the glass itself. So I had to determine where did I want the front of the bottle to be. For this specific one, I actually put the handle on the side with the printing to keep it against my body. So when I'm walking around, this is the side you see rather than this side. This particular bottle does not have any of those markings. The only thing on it is the residue and this little serial number. So I'll probably put the handle on the side of the serial number to again try to mask it so it's not out and visible when it's on my belt. So what I'm going to do is line it up on the bottle about where I want it to be. And I'm going to add a little dab of glue to the bottle itself. This won't really hold it in place very well. It'll just give me a little bit of assistance while wrapping. I want to make sure that the masking tape is going to be covered by my wrap. So here is a pretty good position. If I did this, it wouldn't work out so well because the masking tape would not be covered by the wrap when I'm finished. So I've centered the masking tape on my bottle, on the neck of my bottle. I'm going to put this down, it's going to come apart. Now for the leather thong, I'm just guessing as far as how much material I'm going to need. Again, what I need approximately is an arm's length of thong, which is about this long, about a yard approximately, because I'm going from my left shoulder to my right hand. It doesn't really matter. The neck of the bottle and how high you're wrapping up will change how much twine you need, so if you're worried about it, cut it a little bit long. While you're learning, it's okay to waste a little bit of leather thong. Again, if you're getting the synthetic stuff, it was pretty cheap. Trying to remember, I think it was like $6 for 25 yards. Leather is usually like $11 for 25 yards, so it's not that big a deal. Alright. So the way I like to wrap things is I make a little loop. Put the loop against the bottle. I wrap up towards the lip of the bottle. I take the other end of my cord, thread it through the loop, and pull the tail down. The reason for that is that it's locking in my cord and I don't have to tie any knots. There's no big lump left on the bottle. It's just a smooth seam. So this is the tail. This is where the loop was. And this little bit of leather that's sticking out from where I wrapped from the bottom to the top. It's very smooth. I've tried knots, I've tried a lot of different options. This is my favorite so far. You're welcome to experiment. It's just a thing for fun, so do whatever you like. Right, so I've got my handle against my bottle. I've got my loop. It's a little bit tricky to hold them both against the bottle. That's why I added that little bit of glue. If you want to be really patient, you could let the glue set and then start wrapping, but I don't want to, so I'm not going to. While you're wrapping, it's going to be really important that you keep the thong flat against the bottle. If you let it twist and then keep wrapping, you're going to put the twist into the neck of the bottle. So this is nice and smooth, but if I had allowed it to twist, it wouldn't be so smooth. You could add decorative twists intentionally, but I would practice first. The direction that you wrap does not matter. I prefer to wrap towards me, but it is just a preference. Again, this first wrap, I want to make sure that the masking tape is going to be covered. So I want to make sure it's low enough to cover the masking tape. So I'm threading it through the handle, around the neck of the bottle, and back again. And I'm pulling it pretty tight. Your handle is going to drift towards wherever you're pulling. So as I pull this way, my handle pulls towards me. If you don't watch that, it could go a little bit further than you like. But shouldn't be too big a deal in this case. I'm also going to constantly adjust my handle to make sure that it stays upright and I'm not accidentally wrapping it on there diagonally, which I've done before. It does not look very nice. So I'm just keeping tension on the bottle and wrapping it around. Worst case, if you accidentally cut your thong a little too short and you can't finish your wrap, that's okay. You unwrap it, you save that piece of thong, you turn it into a braid for your next handle. I've made these, I started just making them for myself because I was very upset when I broke my favorite ceramic jug that I carried around with me everywhere. I actually broke that 3 times trying to glue it back together, and instead of continuing to break my heart on that, I just started making glass ones. And this glass from the liquor bottles is so much thicker than most glass that it's really quite difficult to break it. It's pretty durable. So I highly recommend this. There's so many different fun shapes and sizes and different things you can try. I recommend staying to a smaller size like this. If they're really big, it's just a lot of water weight to carry around. It might be worth it to check out your local laws just to make sure if you're going to a dry site, for example, and you have a liquor bottle that doesn't have a label on it and has water in it, does that count as a liquor bottle still? Or is it all right? Hopefully it's fine, but it could be an issue. Alright, so this is a good example of cutting your cable a little too short. So I'm going to cut it away, rewrap, and show you how I finish it. So I'm going to save this little piece of twine to make a braid in the future, but this is how you mess it up. Alright, so what I ended up doing is actually cutting it twice as long as I did before, because I went about a little past half way up on the bottleneck. So I'm cutting it twice as long just so I don't have to worry about it. Something that I remember doing last time that I wrapped one of these, and I had forgotten this time, is actually take a little bit of masking tape and tape your handle directly to your bottle instead of just gluing it. That should help hold it on there a little bit better. In addition, if you see there's little glue drops on the inside of this loop, just like we had glued our original piece. I would keep those on the inside of your handle instead of the outside. They're not very visible, but they're visible enough that you might as well cover them up. Again, I have my bottle. This time I'm going to try taping it in place so I don't have to fight it quite as much. I think every time I've wrapped a bottle, I've done it a little bit different. So each time I'm improving just a little bit to make it a little easier. So actually, later on, if you have any recommendations or different ways that you've wrapped them, I'd love to hear about it. I have fun doing this and have fun learning, so I'm happy to see whatever you folks do. I have the same star as before, just with a longer cord. Something I forgot to mention last time was when I'm laying out my loop and my tail, I want to make sure I'm going to have enough of a loop and enough of a tail for when I'm done wrapping. I want to be able to grab a hold of this and pull pretty hard, as well as I'm going to want to have enough room to put the end of my thong through this loop. If I make this tail way too short and I can't get a good grip on it and can't pull on it, it's not going to work. If I make this loop so small that I can't fit this thong through it easily, I'm also going to have a problem. Alright, so now we're at the end. As I was going, I was trying to pull the wrap pretty tight, trying to keep it butted up against each other so there's no gaps. That's merely an aesthetic preference. It's not actually a structural one. The only thing that matters structurally is that you pull the wrap tight this way. If you don't keep that tight, your handle could slip out. That's the only thing that really matters as far as structure goes. Right now, I have this loop. I have my tail. I'm going to thread my tail through my loop, holding that tail tight. I'm going to get my original piece and pull it as hard as I can. So mine broke on me, which is inconvenient. If that occurs, what we're going to do is pull it out and tie that knot I was talking about not wanting to do. Sometimes that happens. It might be that this synthetic material is not as good as the leather material I used before, but that's okay. We're just going to pull that knot right at the base of the handle, pull it nice and tight, and make a square knot. Now, you can leave these ties hanging if you want to. What I've done in the past is actually tie the cork to the string so that if you pop it off, you don't lose your cork. I'm not going to make that decision right now, but that's totally an option. So either cut your ties, leave them, tie a cork to it, but this bottle's done. So if you wanted to remove the residue that we were talking about before, that kind of stickiness left over from the handle, or from the label, you can use acetone. This is just nail polish remover. and a bit of steel wool. I just kind of dump it onto the glass bottle. Acetone's a pretty rough chemical, so make sure that whatever work surface you're working on or floor isn't going to be damaged by it, so you're not stripping the like finish off of your wooden surfaces or anything like that. If you're worried about it, put down some kind of protective layer. It won't hurt a towel, so if you put down fabric to catch the acetone, that'll work fine. So the acetone is breaking up the adhesive a little bit, and then the steel wool is just scrubbing it away. The steel wool isn't going to hurt your glass, so you can scrub pretty aggressively. Just remove everything so you don't have to deal with it later. Alright, you can do multiple passes, you can do kind of whatever you want. It evaporates pretty quickly, so make sure to put a lid back on your container as soon as you pour it out. Acetone's safe on your hands. I mean, it's nail polish remover, so if you couldn't get it on your hands, you couldn't use it on your nails. So if you're worried about it, you're always welcome to wear gloves, but remember that acetone can chew through certain gloves, if I'm remembering correctly. It's hard on certain plastics. I'm going to show you one more time. This is our braid that we made together. If I was to start it, I would put a bit of tape on this side. I don't want to double it up because I just want it to be pretty thin. I don't want to cause a lot of thickness on the cord. So you can see the glue on one side, so I'm going to keep that on the inside of my loop. Make sure it's a size that I like. Get another bit of tape. Put it on the opposite side. I'm going to cut right in the middle of both of these spots. So with my little handle, I wrap that around. I'm going to tape it to my new bottle and get to wrapping again. So with this Patron bottle, I have the words Patron on it. I think for this one, I'm going to keep the word Patron on the outside. Put my handle on the opposite side. And this is why I don't always use the tape, because it's actually not sticking very well to this particular bottle. There might be some kind of residue on this bottle, not really sure. I have my piece of thong. It's about 2 arms length long, approximately. try that again. As far as I have this little loop, I have my little tail. I'm going to thread my tail through my loop. I didn't wrap quite as tight this time. I think that might have been the issue last time. In addition, I'm not used to this synthetic material, but you should see that loop pull tighter. I'm going to get the handle out of the way. And as you pull it tighter and tighter, it should pull your original tail down into the braid. And I like to pull it until I really can't see this sticking out anymore. That should lock your tail in, so it shouldn't unravel on you. Broke it again? But at least I broke it after pulling it through. I actually can't say that I recommend this synthetic material anymore. It was significantly cheaper, but it has so far been a bit weaker. Again, you can leave this tail hanging. You can cut it off. That's up to you aesthetically, but functionally, it's good to go. Thank you so much for watching. Please comment any questions you have, any other ideas you've had, any successes, any failures. I'd love to hear from you folks. I recommend making these for any new people, any newcomers in the SCA. Make them for yourself, make them for your friends. You could even potentially donate them as largesse, but I'd ask your crown if they're alright with that first. Alright, have a great day. Bye-bye.